Tarik Skubal was on Barstool Sports. And do we have the cut, Spenny, or no?
Yeah, I've got. It's not when he asked the money amount. It's that him talking about how he loves Detroit and stuff.
Okay, so Tarik Skubal was on Barstool, one of their podcasts.
PMT.
PMT it was. Okay,
Yeah.
just kind of talking about his situation to some degree. And he brought up the fact, because they asked him about money, right? They said, hey, when are you going to sign? Where are you going to sign?
He said 10 years. I think it was $425. He said he'd sign it right away.
He said he'd sign it right now. But here was Tarik Skubal talking about being in Detroit on Barstool.
I saw on the last pitch of the game, it looked like the leg kick was just as high as it normally is. Do they have advanced stats to show how high you're getting the leg?
I bet I could pull some Hawkeye data. It was at home, so I bet I could pull something to see. But, yeah, I mean, that's as hard as I can throw a baseball. No matter, you know how I said that last year? I actually think that's as hard as I can throw a baseball.
Yeah, so the next year you're going to come in and we're like, hey, remember when you threw 104 in the playoffs? You're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's the hardest I can throw.
Well, if I'm in the ninth inning in a playoff game, then that's something different.
Yeah.
I bet that would actually be harder than that. But
or you were feeding off, it was the adrenaline from the crowd.
No doubt.
You were in the ninth inning,
No
so
doubt.
you just need the crowd to be exactly that loud, and you can keep dialing it up.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's 36,000. It's an 11:35 game. So, like, the fact that the fans showed up for an 11:35 game, I got a ton of, respect for. And then, you're doing something like that, and we just lost 3 to Cleveland in a row, and we're kind of trying to salvage a series. And there's a lot of kind of emotions that went into that game that made it special.
Sounds like you love Detroit.
I love Detroit, yeah.
Yeah?
I do, yeah.
Like, for the rest of your life, love Detroit?
Sure.
Like, we could sign a contract right now. We'll only take 5%. I think Scott Boras, we've met him. We've been to his offices.
Yeah.
PFT
Beautiful
took a shit
office.
in his offices.
I took a big shit in his office.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not in his actual
I'm drinking
office.
a coffee right now. I think I might take a shit here if I'm being honest.
I fucking love those guys, dude. Big PFT. Man.
Yeah.
It's like spreading getting banned from the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
That happened.
R.I.P. Morgan Stanley. Great toilet in the
That's
sky.
the first thing I thought of when I heard it.
Pour a little.
Talk about the best case scenario for a bathroom. Just up there. It's
That's
got
what
the
we got
full
out of the
door
story.
on the stall where it goes ceiling to floor. Oh, man. They put a lock on the bathroom door. You got to have a keypad.
That's right. All right. So
Sign the fucking guy.
here's the deal. Louis IV. Neil, did you hear Skubal talking about Javi's elite tagging on PMT? I did not. As
He
a matter of
was,
fact.
yeah.
He's very complimentary of the
Very
elite tagging.
complimentary of Javi
Did
Baez.
he bring up his slugging percentage?
I don't think so.
Oh,
he's
he didn't?
also very complimentary of Alex Bregman, but they got the same agent, so he's kind of probably just gassing his boy.
That happens.
Does happen.
You are out there working for the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
You are. Woodward Sports chat thread. Danny G, we love you, Skubal, in all caps. Of course, Danny G. Chris Illich, make it happen. Okay, let's get into it. Later on, Skubal brought up the fact where he said 10 at 425.
I think it was, yeah, something like that.
10 at 425 said he'd sign it right now. And D-Mac, do you remember when we had these discussions and when we first started talking about this? And I said, guys, Max Scherzer at over 40 years old got paid over $41 million last year.
100%.
If I'm Tarik Skubal, that's the starting point of where we have our discussions. And remember, people kind of laughed at that, right? 10 years, $400 million. That gets you in the club to talk to me if I'm Tarik Skubal. And people said, no, that I had good friends of mine that are very, very knowledgeable baseball people that said that's crazy, Neil. You're talking about the highest pitching contract of all time. Yes, I am. And based on the fact that he's coming off a Cy Young, he's got another one loading. You have to lay money on Tarik Skubal to win the Cy Young this year. Last time we checked. I wouldn't imagine it's changed because since then he's thrown like 55 innings with 4 walks or whatever it
And
is.
like 90 strikeouts.
And 90 strikeouts. So D-Mac, and look, that shows you this is the first time we've gotten like number talk, right? And
yeah,
like
first time where you can pinpoint
a tangible
something
number.
where we're talking about.
And he also said that, like, he wanted to. I don't know the exact phrasing of it, but it was basically that these talks and these contracts will be in a year and a half. So they're taking it to free agency,
Right. Which
is scary.
Which is Scott Boris's thing.
It is very scary.
Now I have two things. Spenny, do you want to blow past this break?
Yeah,
Or do you wanna take- okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did he mention did he say I'd sign 425 for 10 years today?
I don't know if he said to. He said like
But-
he'd
no,
sign.
but
that
he
He said
he'd
it sounds
sign.
pretty
But
good.
but you just gave me two conversations that
Yeah, no,
telling
they're
me
taking
that,
free agency.
but you that he said, but the caveat was not to Detroit has the option to do it. No, we're going to find out at free agencies.
Yes.
So if you're in that, I mean, it's like,
And I don't blame him. This is his money.
This is his shot.
This is his shot. You're
he
going to
gets
get a
one shot.
10-year, multi-$100 million contract. So you're definitely going to take it to free agency. But that scares me because even if and I'm not talking Scherzer contract offer here. I'm talking about even if you offer Tarik Skubal 10 years, $425 million, the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Mets can go, here's 500.
Like that, if they feel like that's what they want to do. Now, there are a couple of mindsets that we have to get past here. IT hips. No chance I give Skubal a 10-year deal that would be beyond idiotic from a business standpoint. IT hips.
wrong.
IT hips. Are you in the business of having a Cy Young, back-to-back Cy Young winning pitcher on your staff?
Yes.
Probably one that can.
So if you're
probably
in that-
win it
Every year.
this like,
He's
be
a
the
lefty who throws
conversation
100
for the
miles an
next
hour.
5-6 years.
Yeah. Like, so IT hips. If you're in that business of having those kinds of pitchers on your staff, these are the waters you have to get in. And guys, it won't be the last time because we're going to have this discussion.
But
100
isn't it?
more times.
Are we just not having this? Don't we have this every time and just change name, change
Yes,
sport or
we do.
whatever? This is the Scherzer. This is the Verlander. This is the
is the
Goff,
Trout, this is the Cabrera.
But this is a staff. I'm just talking about our guys. This is the Stafford. This is a, like whatever. We're gonna set the record, and then somebody else is gonna come along and by the third year of the contract, Tarik Skubal's 10th highest paid pitcher. I mean, like, come on, what are we doing here? The fact that scares me more, right, is that if he's throwing out that number 425 at 10, like you said, that's like the starting conversation. What are you going to throw in the interview? You're not going to throw out your number.
No.
You're going to throw out the minimum to work it from there. So if you don't think that if this plays out for a year and a half that it's not 500 over 10, like,
That's what it is.
what's Joik Bell say?
Price of a bag going up.
No,
Yesterday's prices are not today's
today's
prices. No,
Facts.
but it is that. And like Phil Phelps says, Tigers won't do a 10-year deal.
Then you're not gonna get
unfortunately.
Tarik
Then you're not
Skubal.
getting him.
Yeah.
Guys, and for the last time, which isn't the last time, how many times do we have to go over this? When you are doing a 10-year deal, it is not a 10-year deal.
It's 5.
It's a 5-year deal that you space out over 10 years so you don't have to go up against the MLB luxury tax. It's a way for and I can't understand what people don't grasp about this. This is the owners skirting a tax.
There are very, 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 very few MLB contracts of guys in their prime that end up working out for everybody. The vast majority of this level of contract for an MLB player of this caliber ends poorly. Because
Right.
if you're signing a 7-year contract, you're actually signing them for 4. And then those last 3 you don't worry about because it's probably not going to end great.
It's the cost
and
of
it's
doing
baked
business.
in. And you look at what Garrett Cole signed, a 9-year, $324 million contract or whatever it was. Skubal's going to get better than that. So it's going to be 10 years starting at $400 million.
That's it. And it's a 5 whatever. When you see these mega deals, like the Juan Soto deal isn't a 15-year deal.
No.
It's a 7-year deal. That's what it is. That's going to end poorly. 100% it is. We saw it here with Cabrera. And everybody, and I could tell that we weren't prepared for it by the way that everyone reacted to it. When he signs his 8-year deal, really it was a 4-year deal.
Yep.
You can't do 4 years at $400 million. You're going to make it 8. You're signing them for 4, but you're not going to pay the luxury tax on it, everyone. That's what it is. Now, here's what gives me some hope. And I have to pull up the date, so you have to excuse me for a second. But here's the only, I don't want to say a saving grace for the Tigers, and depending on what Skubal wants to do, because I was talking about who was it? Guy I heard in The Athletic, big time baseball guy. I was talking about it yesterday. Not Buster Olney.
Jeff Passan?
Rosenthal.
Yeah.
Ken Rosenthal. Now, he was talking about the fact.
I just have your McDavid back check.
Yeah, that was very
Back check,
good.
kid.
He was talking about the fact the CBA between the league and the players expires in 2026. If I'm Skubal, will that come into play for me about when I'm going to sign my deal?
Well, Neil, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I play one on TV. The fact is that he said a year and a half or 2 years to whatever, correct?
Yep.
How long is June 2026? Is that in a year?
Yeah, it is.
Right? So these conversations that he said in a year and a half, oh my gosh, do you think that there might be negotiations going on when he's sitting in the middle of the deal, whatever else? All of this has Scott Boras written on it like it's nobody's business.
That's why he's the best agent in the game.
Like, you know what I mean? So I'm in the wrestling business, and there's certain things that you would say that this is the way that he's done it. You've heard of like Dusty Rhodes, and you've heard of different names or whatever, because it's their style. This is so Scott Boras style that he knows what it's up against. Neil, would you, Scott Boras, best, is he the best agent in the world?
Probably.
Like in sports?
Yeah, probably one of.
Yeah.
One of whatever else. Would he know exactly what, like finger on the pulse to what the negotiations were and whether it would benefit or whether it would hinder?
And don't
so here's the thing. If in any way he thought his client, right, in a year when they're negotiating would hurt his client, he'd probably be pushing a little bit more to sign a long-term deal with all of his clients now. It's got to be player-ish more friendly. So he's telling his client, yo, bro, we ain't no rush. Why don't you wait? Because I think you guys will have more leverage. And then whatever it is.
And two, but I bring up the labor agreement stuff because in that podcast I was listening to with Rosenthal and David Sampson, he said there are a growing number of major league owners that are prepared to do what it takes to get a salary cap, to get a salary cap in baseball. They are prepared to do what it takes. And I know that if I'm the MLB Players Union,
no.
You cannot let that happen.
No.
You cannot let that happen. But Rosenthal said, and this was along the lines of the quote, they are willing to do whatever it takes to get that. And if they got to shut it down for 2 years, they'll shut it down for 2 years.
Damn.
They don't care. So that's kind of my thing with the Skubal. If I'm Skubal and I'm 30 and we go to a shutdown and I don't have a contract, you're talking about taking 2 years off your career. That hinders your earning ability.
A lot.
Do you know where the telling sign is? Where I said if Scott Boras is the best in the game, right? You're going to see that contract come out with the signing bonus, right? Because what's it matter if you're locked out, right? You don't get paid. I'm sitting over here. The year we lost the NHL cost me $2.5 million. It's getting the highest pay. It's the reason I got bought out.
Yeah.
You're gone. You sign a 3-year, $7.5 million contract. You're sort of like, it's guaranteed money, right? And guess what? It's not guaranteed money, right? When stuff like this. So these are the conversations that have to be had. And in this situation, that might be more of a hindrance because of his age. But then you might see this might have been just a ploy to get Detroit to step up, and then we see something in the next.
And that's where it is, D-Mac, because they didn't mention that number by accident.
No.
He didn't agree to do that podcast by accident.
No.
There's no way.
He's also talking shit to Big Cat. It was so funny.
Yeah.
The whys and all
team.
this other stuff, right, which coming into play is you have to think that. So when you telling me that, the next collective bargaining will favor the owners even more, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. Well, what are you going to do as a player if you're Tarik Skubal? What would you do? Would you take the most guaranteed money that you could and sign it, whatever like this, when you know, so that if you had to override 2 years of being out, whatever, you're still pretty much getting paid.
Right. I mean, and look, no one can speak to being in that situation because I'll never be in that situation. D-Mac, you're never in that situation where you have to.
And it's a different situation because he's going to get his money regardless.
Correct.
Right? And maybe we're talking over what? $100 million. Like, which is, I don't mean it like it's like anything else, but he's still going to make.
But that's the water he's in right now.
The water he's in is $400 million to $500 million. Right? So, I mean, even if he loses a couple and it's only $300 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just think, to your question, is the contract would be done before.
If it were me,
it would be before you do all the, go do your ancillary stuff that whatever doesn't have anything to do with me. I got my money. But he's not in a rush to get it. It makes sense. He holds the cards right now. Right?
And he will continue to unless something changes.
Right.
And that's what it is.
And I don't think, what does he make?
He made $10 million this year.
Like 10
He's making
million.
$10 million,
think that,
which will get bumped up. He'll probably be around, assuming he wins a Cy Young, he'll probably be up north of 20.
So he might have to cut a few family travels down because he's got a budget, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
might have to fly first class instead of charter.
Can only get the plain Jane Rolex instead of the iced out one.
Right.
And Max Clark already got him the chain, so.
That is true. Chris, did Chris Ilitch not see Comerica Park when Skubal was pitching? Does he not realize how much love he'll get from the fans if he signs him long term? Ilitch can't be that ignorant, right?
I don't think he's ignorant at
I
all.
don't think it's on him to be ignorant. I think it's the Yankees, the Mets, and the Dodgers can offer more than the Tigers can, no matter, even if Chris Ilitch says, I'll give you $500 million, if the Yankees want him that bad, they will pay more. Flat out.
Period. End of story. And the Dodgers are along that line as well. You got the Yankees complaining about how much the Dodgers are spending now. Like it's crazy. IT Hips, that contract will never be worth that amount. He'll be good maybe another 4 or 5 years. No, then in IT Hips, think of it this way then. Then it's a 5-year deal for $400 million that he'll get paid over 8 years
for the
or 10
best
years.
pitcher in baseball.
Think of it as deferment. You know, like what Max Scherzer did with the Nationals. When the Tigers offered him $140 million and the Nationals said, we'll give you $210 million.
Yeah.
Like, think of it that way. It's just this is always going to hang over. What a job
And why
done
do you guys
by
care about money? There's no salary cap.
what a job done though by Tarik Skubal and Boris and his camp, by the way. Just to, you notice that?
That's what they
Every
do.
month it pops up.
That's what they do.
100%
Hey,
that's what they do.
next time, Skubal, if you want to prop that up a little bit more, we got a $15,000 massage chair you can sit in if you want to come down to Woodward Sports. Next time you need to pop up a little contract talk.
That's it. Yeah. No, maybe you should pull up.
Scoob's the fucking man, dude. I really want to slam beers with Skubal.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
He's
just a fucking bro, dude. Such a bro.
He is. He's just a dude. And you wouldn't, if you didn't know who he was, you knew his presence, you know he's something.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow. And then he's so personable.
And you see his fucking quads, and you're like, okay, this guy's got to be. And that dude, I
want to see him hit a golf ball.
I want to see him hit a golf ball, too. That would be crazy. But he was that was when they were playing the White Sox in Chicago. That was in their Barstool Chicago offices. And so Big Cat asked him, off air, he's like, when's the next time you're going on the tit? And he was like, against your team at home.
And he
Fuck
said,
your
"Fuck
team.
'em." And he went out there and
And he dominated.